Over the next few months, there are a lot of exciting new releases in the science fiction fantasy world, and here are a few of the ones I am most anticipating. Grave Empire by Richard Swan. This is the first book in a new series, apparently set in the same world as his Empire of the Wolf trilogy, which was kind of a mixed bag for me. The first book was an entertaining read. I liked it well enough that I wanted to continue right away. The second book knocked my socks off, and the third book left me wanting a little. But this one has military sharks in it. Completely sold. I don't even need to know anything else about it. But I really like the author, I like his writing style, and I was committed to reading anything else that he came out with already. But then you put something like this in front of me and I can't wait. Now technically I believe this one came out on February 4th, but as I have not yet gotten my copy in the mail, it's still upcoming. And new from one of my favorite authors, Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a sci-fi. The man is so prolific. He's had like 5 books released over the last 12 months. And I'm at the point where I'm not even reading what these things are about. I am going to read this one. This is starting out as, I believe, a standalone, but you never know. He may go back and add something more to it later. But Children of Time is still one of my all-time favorite reads. If you haven't picked up a Tchaikovsky yet, start with that one. A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is book 2 following The Tainted Cup, which is getting a lot of positive feedback as being a true mystery fantasy hybrid. So if you love fantasies with a heavy mystery component, this might be a good one to check out. It's pretty high up on my personal TBR, and I really loved the first Foundry side book, but he scared me off a little bit because I didn't like the following 2 in that trilogy as much. But this is so drastically different, and I know he can wow me, so I'm very much looking forward to it. That one is slated out on April 1st. And I have the broken binding edition of the first book, but I think I'm jumping ship because I don't like how red the new special edition is going to be. I think I prefer the yellow, so I'm going to have a hodgepodge. And my very favorite and truly only romance author that I read, Emily Henry, has a new book coming out. Great Big Beautiful Life, also known as the one with the red cover, because that's how I keep track of them. This will be out April 22nd. If you are not sure if you like romance, give Emily Henry a try. She has all of the fun elements that you get out of a romance novel, but without all of the dumb stuff. She has characters who actually talk to each other and have mature conversations, and with problems outside of the relationship. In fact, the storyline encompasses everybody in their life, and that's part of why they feel like real people and why the romance component really works for me. So I am very excited for that one. This one doesn't have a cover yet, and I'm skeptical because the release date is April 24th. It's the 3rd and final book of the Kithamar series. I think it's a trilogy. By Daniel Abraham. Abraham is one of my all-time favorite writers. I love his character work, and I love how immersed I feel in any world that he creates. He's so good. I have not read a dud from him yet. In fact, this Kithamar series is one of my favorites. I might even be compelled to reread the first 2 books before I dive into the final one. I love it that much. We will see if it actually comes out this year, but the fact that it doesn't even have a cover yet, I feel like they're just teasing me. Another one that I'll believe it when I see it, 3rd book in the Burning trilogy by Evan Winters, Lord of Demons. Loved the heck out of Rage of Dragons, the first book in this series. Decided not to pick up the second one right away because I was waiting more until the 3rd one had a solid release date. At the time, I didn't realize it was going to take this long. I read it ages ago. But I love that first book. I feel like it's pretty polarizing. You either really like it or really hate that book. For me, it worked on all accounts. I loved the training sequences and the character growth and the mock battles and things like that. It was so good. And in fact, my only complaint is that it really didn't have a lot of dragons. Like, yes, they were in the story, but they were kind of always on the periphery. They weren't in on the action a lot. That's really only a minor complaint. But if there really is a 3rd book coming out, then yay! Like, I can do a reread and finally continue on and finish that one. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, one of my top 3 favorite authors of all time, has a new book coming out. It has nothing to do with First Law, and I just barely missed my opportunity to get a physical arc of this one, but as much as I love it, I am so hesitant to start new series that aren't complete yet. So I will probably buy it and then hang on to it for a little while until we get a second book. And that's kind of where I'm at with most of the series these days. Like, I don't think my memory sucks necessarily, but I do know if more than a year goes by from when I read something, then I lose a lot of the tiny details that for me is what makes the stories special. Like, I want to know all the nuances. I want to be in on it. So I think I'm shifting from reading a lot of new releases to sitting back a little bit, collecting the books, and then waiting until I have a good chunk of them to dive into. It's not like I don't have a plethora of things to read that are actually complete, but I may break all of that because I love Joe Abercrombie so much and I think it would be really fun to dive into a new world of his. We shall see. These days it's easier to find summaries for things, especially really popular authors. So in any case, that one is slated to come out May 13th. And 2 new releases on May 27th, The Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association by Caitlin Rosakis. Now, I have not read Dreadful. I don't even know if this book is related to that one or if it's just another fun, quirky book that's a standalone. But I do know there are 2 out now, and both of the covers have been incredibly appealing to me. So this one has creeped its way up my TBR. And to boot, my bestie said it was a lot of fun. I am finding myself in the mood for a lot of this quirky, lighthearted fantasy lately, especially since last year was a year of heavy tomes. And I'll still read a lot of those, but I want to break it up a little bit. Also coming out on May 27th, Sword Triumphant by Gareth Hanrahan, Book 3 in the Lands of the Firstborn, which I believe is a trilogy. But oh my gosh, 2 things. I really love the covers for these books. Second thing, his Black Iron Legacy series is still one of the most memorable, fun things that I've ever read. There were so many components about that series that are unique, and he broke a lot of rules of storytelling, but did so in a way that just made everything so vivid. Ask me the main character's name in the book I am currently reading, I probably couldn't tell you. I could give you a full list of character names from that series and tell you exactly how they play into the politics as a whole. It was so good, a really cool one, so if you haven't checked out that series. But this Lands of the Firstborn, if this really is the completion to this trilogy, I may be diving in sooner than later. I cannot wait. Coming out July 15th, The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. The first one, Spell Shop, came out last year. It was high on my TBR, but I didn't make time to get to it. I love this author. She has been an absolute delight. She's writing the kind of stories that I wish I had thought of first to write because they always appeal to me on every level. I especially love her Race the Sand standalone book. It was absolutely superb. And so I know she's really good at a lot of things. And even the first book, The Queen of the Blood in the Rinthia series, I enjoyed that one as well, even though I didn't make time to continue on. But I know I like her creative mind, and I'm a fan of everything that I've seen her do so far. But I have not seen her do a romance, and I think she's gonna nail it. But overall, I'm going into this series with a lot of positive vibes just from liking the author in general, and I could use a bit of fun. And the covers on these are so dang appealing. And so I don't know about you, but something about a brand new shiny cover of a sequel book immediately makes me want to drop everything and prioritize the series, whereas before I seem to have been content to just let it ride for a bit. New releases, man, they're addictive. I love them so much. Also, supposedly coming out September 1st this year. This one doesn't have a cover, but Strength of the Few by James Islington. Ask me which author I think is doing the coolest stuff in fantasy right now. James Islington. Absolutely loved Lycanius. Will of the Many was such a random hodgepodge of ideas, but somehow he managed to pull it off. It was touch and go at the beginning there, but by the end, I was like absolutely glued to it. Had loved everything I had read up to that point, and cannot wait for this next book. Though we shall see if there's actually going to be a release this year. If there is, I'm dropping everything. On September 16th, John Scalzi has a new book in his Old Man's War series. It's called Shattering Peace, and it's book number 7, and I am shocked. I thought the series was done. In fact, the really weak compilation of things that we got that counted as book 5 and book 6, it was so pathetic that I thought, well, he obviously doesn't care about any resolution in this universe, so why should I? And I'm feeling a little snarky because I DNF'd Starter Villain earlier this year because it was a self-indulgent atrocity to me. It annoyed the crap out of me. It's like everything that was cute before was too overdone now. And the cats were good. The cats were almost good enough to keep me reading, but ultimately and this is coming from someone who has read most of Scalzi's work and enjoyed them for the most part. But will I pick up book 7 in the Old Man's War series? Probably. The first book was amazing. Book 2, what the heck is going on? Book 3 was a little bit better, brought it back home a bit. Book 4 was awesome, Zoe's Tale. Enjoyed that one thoroughly. But like I said, book 5 and 6 were like short story compilations. You really didn't feel like you got anything out of it. In fact, I'm not even sure if the short story thing was in book 5 or if book 5 was just so unmemorable that I'm lumping it in with my experience with book 6. But if this is going to be a true novel progression of the story, then I want to know. But I'm hoping that he got it all out of his system with Starter Villain and the new When the Moon Meets Your Eye, which, by the way, I probably would have read had Starter Villain not thrown me off. I will get to Shattering Peace at some point. And this is looking probably way too far in the future, but supposedly around the beginning of 2026, Ilona Andrews, the same duo that brought you Kate Daniels' Hidden Legacy, books that I cannot stand the covers for, but absolutely love the stories. They are trying their hand at a true epic fantasy called Maggie the Undying, and they've been going self-pub for a while, and I think this one was actually picked up by a trad publisher, and I cannot wait. I love these authors. So for all of you who have been skeptical about my recommendations of Kate Daniels because of the covers, understandably, maybe this will be a good opportunity to dip your toes into Ilona Andrews' writing. I hope it's good. I can't wait. I doubt it'll be out when it says it's going to be out, but at least I know it's in the works. And then last but not least, despite the fact that I tried to get all organized for this video and I've got like my little list with all the check marks on it and the dates and everything, I wrote down a title. I have no idea what it is. I didn't write down the author. I'm like, I'll just remember it. Yeah. So supposedly, there's a new book coming out called Shadows Upon Time in 2025, and I cannot for the life of me remember what author it was tied to, but I put it on the list, so it must be one I really like or am really interested in. So here you go. Shadows Upon Time. I can say with confidence that I'm really excited to read it. So Travis Baldry, who brought us Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust, also has a new book coming out, set in the same world. I'm not sure the premise. Like, each book so far has had a gimmick. We've got the coffee shop thing and then the bookstore thing. Like, the gimmick is what is selling the books to me at this point, so I want to know what the gimmick is for this one, and I'm curious whether or not it's going to appeal to me. With the first book, we spent a ton of time with the business aspect of things, like the cozy feeling of running a coffee shop and kind of all the sociable aspects that entails. Bookshops and Bone Dust, I could have spent more time with the book stuff. Let's spend a couple chapters organizing books and finding great things to read hidden in the stacks. I could read that all day. We'll see, but I am curious for this one, and I'll probably end up bringing a copy home. As what happens every time, I forgot another one. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. New book out in the Hunger Games series. Seems like these are few and far between, but with the quality of writing that we got in Ballad for Songbirds and Snakes, like, she can take as much time as she needs, in my opinion. Now, I didn't love the story of that one. There were a lot of things that I just didn't jive with, but from a craft perspective, I thought it was brilliant. I'm actually quite interested in the storyline of this particular book. I guess it's covering Haymitch's backstory, but really, anytime I get to spend in this world, I'm excited for. I love dystopian stuff, and then always the element of competition. I thrive on those kind of reads. And out soon, March 18th, 2025. Mark your calendars. So that's everything on my list. I love new releases. I think it goes back to when I was a bookseller. And before I used the internet to figure out what was coming out next, I would have to wait for the new release boxes to come, and then you would open them and be so excited and see the covers for the first time. It felt like Christmas every Tuesday. Let me know if you're excited for anything on my list, or if there's a few I didn't mention that you're looking forward to. I want to say thank you to my patrons for supporting my content and for being such fun to read books with. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one.